Are you unknowingly putting your digestion, blood sugar, and even your bones at risk with your everyday food choices? So many of us believe we're making healthy decisions, piling our plates with vibrant, nutrient-packed foods, only to find out that some combinations might be silently working against us. What looks like a wholesome meal could actually be a hidden threat, especially as we get older. In today's video, we're uncovering 3 surprising food pairings that could be sabotaging your health without you even noticing. If you're over 60 or simply want to take charge of your well-being, this video is tailor-made for you. We're going to reveal why pairing tomatoes with foods like white potatoes, cottage cheese, and sugary desserts could be wreaking havoc on your body, from your gut to your glucose levels. But don't worry, by the time this video ends, you'll have easy, practical tips to sidestep these risks and feel better every single day. The best part? You won't need to overhaul your entire diet. Just a few tiny tweaks can set you on the path to a healthier, more vibrant you. Stick with me, because this could be the secret to thriving as you age. Let's dive in. Before we get started, if you haven't already, I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss a video that could transform your health. Your support keeps me going. And if you find this helpful, please like and share it with your loved ones. Drop a 1 in the comments if you're excited to learn more, or a 0 if you're not quite sold yet. I'll do my best to win you over with the next one. Now, let's get right to it. 1. Tomatoes and white potatoes. How many of us can't resist the allure of a hearty, soul-warming meal that brings together the juicy burst of tomatoes and the comforting, earthy goodness of white potatoes? Picture it. Maybe it's a steaming bowl of stew, brimming with chunky tomatoes and tender potato cubes. Or perhaps a simple yet satisfying plate of roasted vegetables straight from the oven, their flavors mingling in a way that feels like pure coziness. It's the kind of dish that wraps you up like a warm hug on a plate, isn't it? We sit down to enjoy it, convinced we're treating our bodies to a wholesome dose of vitamins, fiber, and all-around goodness. After all, tomatoes are packed with antioxidants, and potatoes offer that satisfying heft we crave. But what if I told you this cozy, feel-good combination might actually be stirring up trouble in your belly? Especially as the years add up? Yes, you heard me right. There's a sneaky, unexpected downside to this pairing that could leave your stomach grumbling in protest and your energy levels completely drained. Let's take a closer look at what's happening here. As we age, our digestive systems start to feel a little more fragile, a little less forgiving than they once were. They're still working hard for us, but they need a bit more care, a bit more thoughtfulness about what we put into them to keep everything humming along smoothly. The issue with pairing tomatoes and white potatoes comes down to how these two foods play together. Or rather, don't play together. In your gut, tomatoes, with their bright, tangy flavor, owe that zip to natural acids like citric and malic acid. Those acids are part of what makes them so delicious. But they also make tomatoes a bit of a troublemaker in the digestion department. White potatoes, on the other hand, are the starchy heavyweights of the veggie world. When you eat them, they break down into sugars that take their sweet time moving through your system. Now, when you toss these two into the same meal, the acidity from the tomatoes can throw a wrench into the works, slowing down the digestion of the potatoes' starch. What's the result? A buildup that leads to bloating, uncomfortable gas, and sometimes even a bout of acid reflux that leaves you reaching for relief. For seniors, this is especially tricky. Our stomachs often produce fewer digestive enzymes as we age, so this combination can feel like a full-on traffic jam in your gut, with everything stalled and nowhere to go. To really drive this home, let me introduce you to Linda, a 68-year-old retiree from Texas who had a deep love affair with her tomato potato soups. Every Sunday, like clockwork, she'd pull out her big pot and get to work, simmering up a batch she thought was the epitome of healthy, homemade comfort to carry her through the week. She'd ladle it out, savoring the warmth and the way it made her feel like she was taking care of herself. But then something strange started happening. After every bowl, Linda would feel this heavy, bloated sensation settling in, her stomach churning as if it were staging a quiet rebellion. At first, she brushed it off. Maybe she'd eaten too much. Or perhaps it was just a natural part of getting older, she told herself. But the discomfort didn't let up. Week after week, it lingered, and soon she found herself dreading the very meal she once adored. It was maddening. She was trying so hard to eat well, to make smart choices, and yet her body seemed to be fighting back, refusing to cooperate. One day, over a casual cup of coffee, Linda vented her frustrations to a friend who happened to be a nutritionist. "Have you ever considered that tomatoes and potatoes might not mix well for you?" her friend asked. Raising an eyebrow, Linda almost laughed. How could two perfectly healthy foods be the villains here? It sounded absurd, but curiosity got the better of her, and she decided to give it a shot. She swapped out the potatoes in her beloved soup for a lighter option, zucchini, with its mild flavor and easy digestibility, and waited to see what would happen. The results were nothing short of astonishing. Within just a few days, that bloated, sluggish feeling melted away, her energy came rushing back, and she felt lighter, more alive than she had in months. It was a light bulb moment for Linda. Something so simple, so innocent, had been dragging her down all along, and all it took was one small tweak to flip the script and set her free. Now, I can almost hear you asking, wait, does this mean I have to ditch tomatoes or potatoes forever? Are they off the table for good? Not even close. You don't have to say goodbye to either of these delicious staples. The fix is as easy as it is practical. Just enjoy them separately. Picture this. Have your tomatoes at lunch, maybe in a crisp, refreshing salad or a silky sauce, and then treat yourself to your potatoes at dinner, baked to golden perfection or mashed with a touch of butter. If you're dead set on keeping them together, here's a little trick. Try roasting the potatoes first. That pre-cooking breaks down some of the starch, making it easier on your system, and pair them with just a small amount of tomato to dial back the acid load. It's a tiny, almost effortless change that can save your stomach from distress and keep you feeling fantastic. These little adjustments, these mindful shifts, are all it takes to support your body as it navigates the changes that come with age. You deserve to enjoy your food without the fallout, and this simple tweak makes it possible. 2. Tomatoes and cottage cheese. Who doesn't love the simplicity and satisfaction of a quick, protein-packed snack that feels like a little victory for your health? Imagine a bowl of creamy, smooth cottage cheese crowned with vibrant, juicy slices of tomato, a combination that seems to whisper, light, refreshing, and full of goodness, all at once. It's the kind of go-to option so many of us turn to, especially on those busy days when we crave something easy yet still nutritious. You scoop it up, feeling smug about your smart choice. Protein from the cottage cheese, vitamins from the tomatoes, a perfect little duo, right? But here's the catch, and it's a sneaky one. This innocent-looking pair might be sending your blood sugar on a roller coaster ride you'd never suspect, particularly as the years pile on. I know, it's tough to wrap your head around. How could something so simple, so seemingly harmless, turn into a problem? Let's peel back the layers and figure this out together. As we age, our bodies don't juggle blood sugar quite as effortlessly as they once did. Keeping those levels steady becomes a bigger deal. It's the key to dodging that bone-deep fatigue, those unpredictable mood swings, and even more serious threats like diabetes looming on the horizon. Tomatoes, bless them, are low in sugar on their own, offering that fresh, tangy bite without much of a glucose punch. But here's where they get tricky. They're acidic, loaded with natural zing from things like citric acid, and that acidity can shake up how your body handles other foods. Then there's cottage cheese, a protein powerhouse that we adore for its creamy texture and filling nature. But it's not always as innocent as it looks. Some versions hide a surprising amount of sodium, and if you're reaching for flavored varieties, there might even be a sneaky bit of sugar tucked in there too. When you team these two up, the acid from the tomatoes can kick digestion into overdrive, speeding up how fast sugars hit your bloodstream. And if you're eating this combo with a side of crackers or a slice of bread, well, that's like hitting the gas pedal even harder. Over time, those sharp blood sugar spikes can wear your system down, leaving you feeling wrung out and wondering why you're so tired. Let me paint you a picture with a real-life example. Meet George, a 73-year-old retiree from sunny California who was utterly devoted to his daily cottage cheese and tomato ritual. For him, it was the perfect snack, quick, tasty, and a way to keep his strength up as he enjoyed his golden years. He'd sit down with his bowl, feeling like he'd cracked the code to healthy eating. But then things started to shift. George began noticing an odd feeling creeping in. His hands would tremble slightly. His head felt foggy, And every afternoon, like clockwork, he'd crash hard, barely able to keep his eyes open. At first, he shrugged it off. Maybe it was just age catching up, or perhaps he wasn't sleeping as well as he thought. But it nagged at him. This persistent sense that something was off. His daughter, a nurse with a sharp eye, suggested he track his blood sugar after meals. When he did, the results floored him. That healthy snack was sending his levels soaring into the stratosphere. A trip to his doctor confirmed the hunch. This combo was too much for his aging metabolism to wrangle. But here's the good news. The solution was simple and didn't demand any big sacrifices. George didn't have to banish his favorites from his life. He just had to rethink the timing. He started enjoying his cottage cheese in the morning, maybe with a sprinkle of nuts for a little crunch, and saved his tomatoes for later, drizzled with a touch of olive oil as a refreshing afternoon bite. Almost like magic, his blood sugar leveled out, and that shaky, exhausted feeling slipped away, leaving him steadier and more energized. You can follow his lead. Keep them apart. Let cottage cheese shine solo, or pair it with a non-acidic veggie like crisp cucumber instead of tomatoes. It's a small, gentle shift that keeps your energy humming along in your body content. No drastic overhauls required. 3. Tomatoes and sugary desserts. Picture this. You've just enjoyed a lovely, satisfying dinner, and now it's time to treat yourself. A sweet little reward to cap off the meal. Maybe it's a moist slice of chocolate cake, its frosting melting on your tongue, or a creamy scoop of vanilla ice cream that hits all the right spots. Then, in a nod to balance, you follow it up with a few crisp, refreshing bites of tomato salad, thinking you're cleverly offsetting the indulgence with a touch of virtue. It's that classic mix of naughty and nice, right? We've all been there, convincing ourselves that a little healthy addition can magically cancel out the sugar we just savored. But here's the harsh, eye-opening truth. Pairing tomatoes with sugary desserts might be putting your bones in jeopardy, especially as we age. I know it sounds wild, like something out of left field, but there's solid science behind it. And trust me, it's a game changer you'll want to hear about. Let's talk about why this matters. As the years roll by, our bones naturally start to weaken. It's just part of the aging process. Whether we like it or not, calcium becomes more precious than gold. A vital mineral we need to hang onto if we want to stay strong and mobile. Tomatoes, with their zesty, acidic nature, bring a lot to the table. Vitamins, antioxidants, that bright flavor we love. But that acidity comes with a catch. When you eat them right after a sugary dessert, it's like throwing fuel on a fire. Sugar already has a sneaky way of pulling calcium from your bones as your body scrambles to neutralize its effects. It's a bit of a thief in that sense. Now, add tomatoes into the mix, and their acidity cranks up the process, leaching even more of that crucial calcium away. For seniors, this isn't just a minor hiccup. It can accelerate bone loss, pushing you closer to the edge of osteoporosis, where fractures and fragility start lurking around the corner. It's a silent threat, one you might not feel until it's too late. And that's what makes it so startling. To bring this home, let's meet Maria, a spirited 70-year-old from New York who had a ritual she cherished. After dinner, she'd indulge in a sweet treat, maybe a sliver of pie or a small bowl of ice cream, then follow it with a modest tomato salad. Her way of keeping things healthy and balanced. She'd sit back, pleased with herself, thinking she'd found the perfect compromise between pleasure and prudence. But over time, something unsettling crept in. Her joints began to ache more than usual. A dull, nagging pain that she couldn't quite shake. Then came the real wake-up call. A bone density scan showed she was losing strength faster than she should have been, her bones thinning at an alarming rate. Confused and worried, she turned to her doctor, who zeroed in on her food habits. That post-dessert tomato salad, he said, it's quietly undermining your bones. Maria was floored, stunned. Really, something she thought was doing her good was actually chipping away at her foundation. And she'd had no clue. Thankfully, the fix is as straightforward as it gets. No need for drastic measures or swearing off sweets forever. Maria learned she could still enjoy her dessert. She didn't have to ditch the joy. Just not with tomatoes tagging along right after. Instead, save those tomatoes for a different meal, like a fresh lunchtime salad, when your body can handle them without the sugar meddling in the mix, to give your bones an extra boost. Sneak in a calcium-rich snack earlier in the day. Think a creamy cup of yogurt or a handful of almonds. It's a small habit shift, barely a blip in your routine, but it's powerful enough to safeguard your mobility and strength for years to come. You get to keep the treats you love and protect your future self. It's a win-win that's hard to beat. 4. Tomatoes and red meat. Who doesn't savor the sheer delight of a juicy, perfectly cooked steak or a hearty burger, paired with the zesty kick of a fresh tomato salsa or the deep, comforting richness of a marinara sauce? It's a classic combination that conjures up images of a sizzling grill on a warm summer evening. Smoky, tender meat mingling with the bright, tangy burst of tomatoes. It feels like a match made in culinary heaven. A flawless dance of flavors that leaves you full, satisfied, and maybe even a little smug. We tell ourselves it's a nutritious win. Protein and iron from the meat. A vitamin-packed punch from the tomatoes. What's not to love about that? But here's the twist that might stop you in your tracks. This delicious duo could be quietly piling extra strain on your kidneys and heart. Especially as we age. I know it's a shock. Something so heavenly hiding a catch. Let's dig into why this pairing might not be the friend you thought it was. As we get older, our bodies start to show their wear and tear, and our kidneys and cardiovascular system bear the brunt of it. These vital systems soldier on, filtering waste and keeping our blood pressure steady. But they're not as tough as they used to be. They're more vulnerable, more prone to struggle under pressure. Red meat, like a succulent beefsteak or a flavorful lamb chop, brings a lot to the table. Protein to keep us strong, iron to fuel our energy. But it's got a hidden edge. It's loaded with purines, compounds that break down into uric acid once they're in your system. Enter tomatoes, with their natural acidity that gives them that signature tang. That acidity doesn't just sit there. It ramps up the uric acid production, pushing levels even higher. Too much uric acid is like a heavy load dumped on your kidneys, sparking inflammation, triggering painful gout flare-ups, or even paving the way for kidney stones to form. And that's not all. The saturated fat in red meat, combined with the sodium often lurking in tomato-based sauces, can nudge your blood pressure upward, putting your heart in the crosshairs. For seniors, this combo lands like a double whammy, hitting systems already stretched thin by the demands of time. Let me introduce you to Robert, a 66-year-old from Illinois who lived for his weekend barbecues with a passion that bordered on sacred. He'd fire up the grill, slap on a thick, juicy steak, and crown it with his homemade tomato relish, a recipe he'd perfected and took pride in. It was his ritual, his masterpiece, and he loved every bite, convinced he was balancing the meat with a healthy dose of veggies. But over the years, something shifted. Robert started feeling stiff, his joints creaking and aching more than they should. His doctor began noting his blood pressure inching higher at every checkup. And then came the real blow. A gout attack so fierce it left him hobbling, wincing with every step. Robert was utterly baffled. He thought he was eating smart, doing right by his body. It wasn't until a nutritionist sat him down and connected the dots, pointing to that tomato red meat combo, that it all clicked. The uric acid buildup and heart strain were tied directly to his favorite dish, the one he'd built his weekends around. Robert wasn't ready to abandon his grill. And the good news is he didn't have to. The solution was beautifully simple. He started swapping out the tomatoes for non-acidic sides, grilled zucchini with its subtle sweetness or a crisp leafy green salad. He saved his beloved tomato relish for lighter meals, like a flaky piece of fish or a lean chicken breast, where the acid wouldn't stir up trouble. Within weeks, his joints loosened up, the stiffness fading, and his blood pressure readings started to ease back down. It was a small swap that delivered a massive payoff. You can do the same. Keep enjoying your red meat, but let your tomatoes find a different partner. Try a splash of vinegar or a squeeze of lemon to brighten your steak. Or go for a velvety mushroom sauce instead. It's an easy tweak that keeps your kidneys and heart running smoothly, letting you savor life's pleasures without the hidden costs creeping up on you. If you're still with me, drop a 2 in the comments to let me know you're here. Aging doesn't mean giving up the foods we love. It's about making smarter choices to nourish ourselves. Tomatoes are fantastic, but pairing them wisely can make all the difference. Whether it's separating them from potatoes, cottage cheese, or desserts, these little tweaks give you control over your health. What's one change you'll try after watching this? Share it below. I'd love to hear from you. If this video helped, please like, share, and subscribe for more tips to live your best life. Thanks for joining me. Here's to thriving, not just surviving, as we age.